Now, COVID-19 is getting more and more dangerous, with the supercontagious strains being found in South Africa. The Delta variant is proving of great concern here right now. Let's speak to our reporter Heidi Giokos about what the minister had to say a little earlier. Heidi, obviously big news. We weren't expecting this. Just last week I spoke to Professor Shub and he said it was under control. But the Delta variant is out of control, it sounds like.
Most certainly out of control, and I think this is a huge concern for government, given the fact that they had been informed that the Delta variant was in the country after that ship docked in Durban a few months ago to say the variant is here. Those that have tested positive on that ship have the Delta variant. But it seems a couple of months later, government is now saying that the Delta variant is the cause of the third wave in the country, which we do know that the Delta variant is a whole lot more transmissible, and we do know that the symptoms are quite severe in terms of hospitalization numbers. So government making that announcement today, and it is quite concerning that this variant is, of course, here. It also speaks to the lack of possible planning from government side to say that only a couple of months later are we now informed about this, after questions were raised on whether or not it's the beta variant that was dominating the second wave that's now dominating our third wave, and only to be told now that it is in fact the Delta variant that was first identified in India. But let's listen to the acting health minister on this matter.
Previously, we had communicated that the third wave peak is likely to surpass the second wave peak. Sorry, it's unlikely to surpass the second wave peak. So we were not seeing these numbers in terms of modeling, but this was based on the fact that, on the assumption that South Africa does not, in case South Africa does not get a new variant. So if we do not have a new variant, we would see the peak of the third wave being just below second wave. Unfortunately, this is no longer the case. Our scientists, after their sequencing experiments, have discovered that we have a new variant that is prevalent in our country. This new variant is called a Delta. You know that it's not a new in terms of existing only in South Africa. It exists in other countries.
I think the obvious question then, Heidi, is how is this Delta variant different from what we know previously in the country, which is the beta variant?
Yes, so we do know that symptoms are quite different in terms of from what one would experience from the beta variant and now with the Delta variant. What's also interesting here is that once one is infected with COVID-19 and you're carrying the Delta variant, you are able to pick up almost the very next day or about 2 days after that, that you could possibly be infected with COVID-19. Previously, speaking from experience, you would only find out in about 7 days that something doesn't feel right if you have a mild case of COVID-19. But with the Delta variant, the symptoms are quite different. So headaches, sore throat, sneezing, and a runny nose, whereas previously it was more of body aches, vomiting, dizziness, and so forth. We also know that hospitalization numbers are a lot higher with the Delta variant, which is the main issue here and the biggest concern for government. We saw what was playing out in India right in front of the world, that oxygen was a huge issue in the country. So those are the biggest concerns and the differences with the Delta variant.
Now, we've been using 2 vaccines in this country, Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer. What about those vaccines? Are they going to be enough, or do we need more?
Well, isn't it ironic that previously we were not going to be using the AstraZeneca vaccine because it wasn't as effective against the variant in South Africa, and now we are being told that AstraZeneca is the efficacy, if you have 2 doses of that vaccine, is about 60% against the Delta variant. I'm not sure if they mentioned anything about Johnson & Johnson, but from what I heard, there is no clear indication on what is going to happen with Johnson & Johnson. We are administering that vaccine currently, as well as Pfizer. The good news out of all the bad news is that there is about an 88% efficacy rate against the Delta variant if you have 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, which we are currently administering in the country. But let's listen to further to the issues around vaccines.
We just need to recall that when we could not use AstraZeneca in the country, it was because of its very poor performance and efficacy on the beta variant. And so I guess the question then that Dr. Nyati is asking is, if then we get to be actually shift the infections to actually the Delta variant, which we have seen that it actually, the AstraZeneca vaccine works well against it. Is that a possibility? My response would be, we actually would need to explore that and see if that might be something we want to consider. Firstly, we need to use the vaccines that we have currently, in the country. And then secondly, it will be a matter of looking to see how much, Delta variant do we then see in the country across, which would make us to go back and reconsider AstraZeneca. But for now, it is something that we're going to need to look at and try and collect the data and see if it is an alternative we could explore into the future.
Thank you for the reporting, Heidi. It's obviously very concerning, but of course we're staying very close to the story to make sure that you're fully informed.